Hey guys, it's Fur Daddy here. Today I'm back with a guide on how to get 530 gear without spending any money. All my friends who have gotten to level 80 immediately buy like a full set of Exarchic gear, and I keep seeing people do it. They spend like 1,000,000 gil on the market board and they buy 510 gear, or worse, they buy the 510 gear and trade it in to the vendor in Yulmore and buy 520 gear. But in actuality, you can get 530 gear without spending any money. So that's what I'm going to be going over in this guide. I'm going to be showing you a few really simple ways and like the suggested progression to getting the gear, as well as some ways to cut the line while unlocking other content. So that's going to be the video. Let's get into it. So something first that I want to dispel is some misinformation or conflicting information you might have about getting gear. Now, you might think that you just want to get like the 510 gear right away so that you're like the maximum usefulness in every dungeon that you do, and you have anxiety that you're not going to be able to do the numbers that you need to be doing, and you kind of want an easier experience. But most of the way for unlocking gear that you do, you actually get synced down to a certain item level anyways, so it doesn't really matter. You might get a slight advantage, but in reality it's not really worth it, and there's a lot of ways that you can sort of skip the line getting ahead as well. So don't worry about getting really good gear right away to be able to do dungeons like especially the 5.1 and 2 and 3 dungeons. Right when you hit 80, you don't have to go buy that gear. You can just work your way up and sort of patchwork your gear along the way, and then at the very end, if you have 1 or 2 pieces of gear that you need to finish up and get to 530, then you can start thinking about buying gear. But you don't want to be sitting there with a bunch of extra tomestones and not be able to spend it on gear, or hit a plateau where you're at 520 and you don't feel motivated to get any good gear or run any content because you're already at that. So let's check on my ventures, and then I'll get into telling you how to get gear. Wow. That's the guide. Just get the gear from your retainer. So right when you hit level 80, you can get this gear from Geralt after you finish your job quest, which is effectively part of the main scenario, so you really have to do that. We can go and talk to this guy here. Our friend, who you'll know if you got resistance weapons or relic weapons before in A Realm Reborn. You can talk to his cousin or whatever, Grenold here, and he'll be able to give you your gear. And this gear is level 430, so if you have any gear that isn't quite at 430, you can pick it up here, and this is going to allow you to progress further into the main scenario. So I'm going to assume that you've done patch 5.1 up to the quest Vows of Virtue, Seeds of Cruelty? Yeah. Vows of Virtue, Deeds of Cruelty, that's right. So once you've done that quest, you'll be able to partake in the Bozja questline. I'm just going to plop this right at the beginning of the video, because it's sort of separate from the rest of the guide, and the reason why is that the content in Bozja sinks your item level down to begin with to 430. So you're going to want to unlock Bozja if that's something you want to do. If you are interested in doing your relic weapon, you're going to have to do that as well. So unlock Bozja. That's the first thing I suggest doing. If you don't feel like doing that, you can always skip this part of the guide. It's not mandatory, but yeah, so I'll be just briefly going over how to do that now. Okay, so if you've recently gotten into the game and power level to 80, then you're going to have to do the quest line Return to Ivalice. I looked online at the guides for unlocking Bozja, and none of them said that you need to do this, but I ran into a lot of trouble trying to unlock the quest. So you do need to do the 24-man raids from Stormblood. In the description, there's a link to the console games wiki Return to Ivalice storyline. So you're going to want to do those first. That takes about, half a day. But you're going to want to do that anyways. It's content. It's really fun. The raids are great, and you'll have no problem queuing up for them because everybody's doing that right now anyways. So I highly suggest you go and do that, and then meet me back here. Okay, so assuming you've done all those quests, you should just be able to go and talk to Hancock. He'll be down here. Oh no, Kaiten will be down here, right around this area here, and he'll have a quest Hail to the Queen. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole storyline here, obviously, but you're going to do this, and that's going to unlock the Bozja incident and all that sort of stuff. So go through this quest line, and that will unlock Bozja. And once you unlock Bozja, you can simply teleport to the Doman Enclave Here's a little life hack for you guys. You can teleport to the Doman Enclave, and assuming you have all of the Aetheryte in Doma, or the Doman Enclave, you can just use the Aetheryte to get right to Gangos. So this is not only to get the Bozjan Blades gear, which I will show you right now, but it's also to start the Resistance Weapon quest. You're going to need that to get a really, really easy item level 500 weapon, and then item level 510 weapon, which is going to let you skip the line a lot of the way if your other pieces of gear are at like 430, for example, when trying to do the main scenario quests. So that's really important, and so that's really important, so do that. Okay, so like 10 hours later, assuming you felt like doing this, minor spoilers, so don't look at this if you don't want to see what Zadnor looks like. I guess here's your last chance. All right, so we can talk to this person here once you get to Zadnor, and look at all this gear. 525 right here, and this is a great catch-up mechanic. It's all your primary slots. So if you did this, this allows you to basically do whatever content you want. You know, this will cover a lot of the way. So if I see any of you guys wearing Exarchic headpieces, chest plates, legs, and stuff like that, I will hip check you. You can just get them here very, very easily. You'll get these coins no problem just progressing through Zadnor and Bozja. So if you do this content, which is really fun, it's really good content, you can get this gear right away. So this is like a little side part to the video. I'm gonna just jump back in case anybody skipped ahead and assume you haven't done this. So yeah, this will allow you to skip some of the other parts of this video if you just want to go right to raids or something like that. Okay, so now let's go into actually progressing your gear in the suggested way from item level 430 all the way up to 530. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is complete the main scenario. And the main scenario will... the parts of this guide, you might want to jump between these as the item levels become available to you, which I'll explain as I go through it. But for the most part, complete your main scenario. If you run into a wall where your gear can't quite do a dungeon, you might want to do some of the other guides in this steps in this guide. So watch the whole video and make your own conclusion then. But yeah, you're going to want to progress through the main scenario. So, okay, so the main scenario gear progression is as follows. You get 445 gear from the Grand Cosmos, 455 gear from Animus Anadir. You get 475 gear from the Hero's Gauntlet, 485 gear from Matoya's Relic, and 505 gear from Pagalthon. That's right. So moving on, I'm going to discuss the raids item level as well. I'm not going to go into the weapons because that is going to be covered by the resistance weapons at a later part of this video. Double checking where all the NPCs are for this quest. My god, there's a lot of misinformation. Because if you look up just the Eden raids, it'll tell you where to unlock the Eden's Promise stuff, but to do that, you actually need to go here. So, you're going to want to go to the Crystarium, and we go to 1012. I think it's just around here. He's not here anymore for me. But just around this area here, there should be an anxious Crystarium guard. Talking to him starts the Eden's Gate questline, okay? So you're going to want to complete those 4 raids, and that starts that quest line. Again, I'm linking to all these in the description if you have trouble following any of this. That is how you unlock that. And then you can start to unlock Eden's Verse by speaking to Yalfort in Amarang. And he's just going to be right... again, he's not here for me, but he's going to be right around here. On these steps, I think where this person is standing. Right here. Yeah, I remember now. That's where he is. And that'll continue the quest line. So do that to unlock the Eden raids, and I'll go through the item level progression now. Alright, so the item level progression for the raids, the Eden's Gate raids only require 425, so you can go through with those right with your 430 gear that you get at the beginning of the video. So that's great. Those items, you get like these like antiquated gear things. You can trade those in at Gul in Amarang or Yal in Yulmore. I'll show you where the gear vendor is in Yulmore later on in this video. That is where you want to go to trade in the gear. That is 450. From there, you have Eden's Verse, which requires 455. So again, if you're not quite there yet, you'll get there by doing the main scenario. You can kind of go back and forth between these. That again gives you 480 gear, And then the Eden's Promise raids are 485, and that gives you 510 gear. So that is the second route that you're going to be taking while leveling up. A lot of getting this gear is just sort of patchworking in gear as you progress through this content. So next we have the raids that you get from the Near collab, the YorHa Raids, and I'll go through where to unlock those now. Okay, so starting from Stilltide, we're going to be going up here. This is your daily reminder to do your flight logs or your Aether Currents and get flight unlocked in all the zones. You need that for hunt trains, which I'll get to when it comes to augmenting gear. Trying to make this video a little more organized, but sorry if it's a little long. I just want to go through all the different ways you can get this gear because it's sort of split up in all these different videos. Alright, so you'll talk to this dig site chief here, and that will start the near raid time. The near raid stuff, yeah. Okay, so now going through the item levels that you get from the YorHa raids. So the YorHa Type 51 armor is dropped from the copied factory, which is the first one. The 490 gear is dropped from the Puppet's bunker. And the 520 obsolete android and YorHa Type 55 gear is dropped from the tower at Paradise Breach. Now, these also give you coins, which you can use to buy the items to augment your Cryptlurker, which is the next gear set that I'm going to talk about. Alright, so this is by far the most straightforward gear exchange. By doing all this content that I've been saying before, you will be collecting a heck of a lot of these Tomestones of Revelation. So, if you go to the Tomestone exchange here, you can simply buy gear for Revelation Tomestones from these guys. Now, this is 520 gear. And then you can augment it in a couple of ways. So the first way you can augment it is by talking to this person here and exchanging these coins for Crypt, Twine, Ester for weapons, Twine for the main accessory or the main armor, and then Dusting for the accessories. That's going to bring your gear to 530, which is best in slot. I'm not going to talk about the Eden raid Savage stuff just because I don't really think this guide is for people that are doing Eden Savage, but it's 530, and that's the actual best in slot gear you can get. So that's that armor. So the other way you can augment your gear is from the guide for hunt trains, which I'll link in the description. It's my guide, and that allows you to augment your gear that way too. But I want to just touch on one more thing that hunt trains can give you. Make sure we pet that person back. I love being a Hrothgar. So again, because the main theme of this guide is about not spending any gil whatsoever, if you're wanting to get a few item levels to be able to do some content, you can also pick up Deepshadow gear, which is 460 from the hunt train vendor in the Crystarium. So if we go to the Crystarium and we talk to Zyle, they will actually be able to trade us gear, see? They give us the Ronkin gear, which is 440, but we don't want that. We want the Deepshadow gear, see? And look at how cheap this is. I mean, you can get a full set of this gear for nothing. So that's a really good way to get gear. 460. Look at that. Now that's a little secret for you guys. Okay, so the very last part of this video is going to be about weapons. The weapon thing is really straightforward right now because it's super easy to get the first step of your resistance weapon, which is 510. So if you don't want the huge grind, you can just get that weapon at 510. You can also get the augmented Exarchic if you must, or do the Emerald weapon Extreme to get the 525 weapon. I guess just going to leave this really brief because the video is long enough as it is, and I highly suggest you guys at least get one relic weapon while it's easy to get them. So I'm encouraging you guys to do that by leaving this information a little scant. So yeah, go get your relic weapon. It's 535 if you finish it. You can do it while you're doing your Bozja stuff. It's a lot of fun. It isn't that bad of a grind compared to previous relic weapons. I highly suggest it. I got 2. It's a lot of fun. Do it. And your item level doesn't really matter for most of that. So all in all, you should be really geared at that point. Yeah, so time to do the outro. So hopefully this guide was useful for you. You may notice that I didn't talk about stuff like buying gear on the market board because there's already a ton of guides part of what inspired me is somebody made a video about like how to get 520 gear in like a second, and their whole thing was just exchanging the Exarchic gear for 520, which is just going to cost you a whole bunch of money. And I'm not about that, especially when you can get all this gear for free. So a couple other resources I'm going to link in the description is the Balance Discord. The Balance Discord will provide you stats for how to actually meld this gear and get it in that optimal place, which you're going to want to do once you get up your stuff to 520 or 530. And so that's in the description. The Balance is a great resource for different guides and stuff like that, so I highly suggest you guys join that. My Discord's also in the description. This wasn't your traditional gear guide where I'm laying out every single possible way to get gear, because this video would be an hour long. I just want to talk about the easiest ways to get gear without spending any money. So hopefully this has been a good guide for you guys. We're at 500 subscribers now, which is cool. Hopefully we can get to 1,000 soon so we can get a community tab. Shout out to the people that have joined our Discord and have been talking in there. And hopefully you guys enjoy the guide. Leave a comment down below with what you want for the next guide. I'm thinking of making a gathering guide for the Diadem. So let me know what you guys want to see. All right, thanks for watching and good luck gearing.